Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining, folks, wherever you are in the world today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is episode 23 of SmugMug Live. It's hard to believe we're at 23 already, but they're rattling through these, and I have another wonderful guest for you today. But before we get to our guest, as always, I'm really delighted that we're able to bring you these live streams from SmugMug and Flickr. It's a real opportunity for our close community to stay together during these times when we're at home. So thank you for joining and for being part of today's live stream. I would ask a few favours of you today while you're watching. One, hit the subscribe button for me. That's a great help to the channel. Hit the little bell notification. That way you'll be notified whenever we have a new episode here at SmugMug Live. And give us a shout out. Let us know where you are joining from today. It's always nice to see the people in the chat and to find out what part of the world you're joining. We always have a great international feel to these episodes with people from all over the world, and indeed hosts and guests from all over the world. So thank you for joining us. And at any point today, if you have a question, post that in the chat and I will make sure to ask our guest that question. Without further ado, let's see if our guest is there. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine, someone who's an amazing SmugMug ambassador and lives not too far from me in Holland. So let's see if Richard Terborg is with us. Hi, Richard.
Hi.
He's here.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Doing good.
Excellent. Thank you for joining me today. I've been looking forward to having this chat with you.
Yeah, same. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Very excited about it.
Yeah, you and I have had some great conversations over the years, so I guess it's time we put one on film and
There you go.
keep it for prosperity.
Cemented solid.
Cemented solid. So I mentioned just at the intro there that you are in Amsterdam at the moment, correct?
Yeah, I'm Amsterdam. It's about 20 minutes out of Amsterdam, but you can call it Amsterdam. It's called Almere.
Almere.
Yeah, there you go.
Amsterdam gives us better position. So apologies, you're not in Amsterdam, but it's the closest.
Pretty much, but I can see it from here. It's just 20 minutes out.
It's because it's so flat. You can see everything from
Hey, there you go.
And for people who don't know who Richard Terborg is, hopefully everybody tuning in does know who Richard Terborg is. But would you give us a little summary of who you are, where you came from, the kind of work that you do before we get into looking at some of that work?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Richard Terborg, and I was born and raised on the island in the Caribbean called Curaçao. I lived there for around 17 years before moving to Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Because it's a Dutch colony, it's like a natural progression there. So when you finish your high school, you go to college in the Netherlands, and then usually most of the people go back to the island. And I kind of stayed here. I stuck around. So coming here, that's when I probably got my camera. My parents gave me my camera, and just to like show them where I lived, because I was moving to a faraway country. They gave me that camera to just show around, show me your friends, show the room, show where do you live, what does your house look like, and that's kind of how photography got embedded into my life, and I started photographing. And I would say around maybe 2005-06, I got my first job as an IT web designer, web builder as well, web programmer. And with my first salary, I bought my first DSLR. I was like, yes, I got some money. Let's get some real camera. No more point and shooting. I got my lens. Let's go test it out. And it's about the same time I discovered Flickr as well. And this will be my learning school, like going to work every morning, bringing my camera to work in the morning, shooting the flowers, shooting the building, shooting what I see in the street, then get into the office, quickly add it in Lightroom, show it on Flickr, and then try to like turn around my screen so my boss wouldn't see me on Flickr commenting all day and liking and talking to people and just trying to get information. So that's been my photography school. And I think in around 2009-10 is when I quit my job and went full time. And I've been a portrait, fashion. Well, I say people photographer now, but it's mostly portraits, fashion. It's a little bit of documentary, but to me, it's people photography. I love anything that has to do with people. The only criteria I have for myself is I need to like the person I photograph, because it's my own company. I get to choose who I work with and who I work for. So that will be my only criteria. Even when I started my job, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna work for a boss anymore because I was sick and tired of working on projects I didn't want to work on. So when I'm doing my own company, when I start my own company, I do want to work on everything I do like. So I get to pick and choose who I work with. So the only criteria is I need to like you, and if I like you, we can work together and make a cool project.
Well, I'm concerned because you've never taken a photograph of me.
Well, this needs to change, doesn't it?
Does that mean that you don't like me, or we just haven't got around to it yet?
We haven't gotten around to it yet. Because always when we bump to each other, it's like running around convention floors and
Right.
speaking to each other. No, definitely. No, this will happen. Now
Yeah.
it's been set.
Too busy having a good time to take photographs. So you're very much like me. My career always was photography that had a person in it. That was always my love, whether it be, portraiture, weddings, even landscapes. I wanted to do urban portraiture and always have people in it. So we definitely have that in common. So you mentioned you grew up in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So on your island, did that mean you had a Dutch passport?
Yeah. So everybody born on the island Curacao has a Dutch passport. It's pretty much it's a Dutch Caribbean, so it's 6 islands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the dynamic has changed now. It was when I was born, it was 6 islands that were part of the colony, and now a few islands went independent, and a few of them are now a province of Holland. But yeah, it's around 6 colonies of the Netherlands that are all born into the passport as well, and which means we can easily get into Holland to study and do what we want.
That's great. That's great. And how often do you go back home?
Lately more, because I think in the last maybe 2 years, 3 years, I've been way more into exploring my past and where I'm from and how I got to where I am now. Like seeing what you do creatively, seeing what you're doing creatively, and then trying to figure out where does it come from? Where did all the color that I use in my work come from? Where did it all mimic from? And I've started to notice that a lot of it comes from the island. So for the last 2-3 years, I've been going back regularly. And before that, I didn't used to go back as much because, I mean, Europe was a new country for me. Sure. I lived on an island my whole life. I mean, you could drive half an hour that way and you would get a beach, half an hour that way and you would get a beach, and you could never get off the island. So getting into Europe, my first 10 years, I just wanted to drive borderless. Yeah, exactly. And just go. And that's what I did. And again, like now in the last few years, I've been slowly going back and trying to figure out who I am and where the culture comes from. Yeah.
Cool. And is the native language on the island Dutch then?
They have their own native language. Mm-hmm. It's a melting blend of Dutch, Spanish, English in one pot. It's called Papiamento.
Papiamento,
yeah, there you go. But in school they teach Dutch. So pretty much Dutch is the primary language you're taught in English as well. So English, Dutch, and Papiamento wasn't really a language taught back in my day, but now it is an official language and does get taught. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, the Dutch certainly got around back in the day, shall we say.
Oh yeah.
I know I have a dear friend who comes from Cape Town and he speaks Afrikaans, but could very easily communicate with someone from the Netherlands because it's very much based on Dutch.
Definitely. I have South African friends that, definitely. Because, I was in Rwanda right before Corona hit in January. And there was a guide over there who was also from South Africa. And I was talking Dutch to a friend of mine and he would reply. So I was like, oh, I forgot. Of course, you guys, we have the same.
It's not quite the same, but it's close enough.
Exactly. It's close enough to understand each other right away. Yeah.
My Dutch friends said that the Afrikaans he spoke sounded like Old Dutch, almost like Shakespearean English because it hadn't quite developed the same way. So,
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. That's
very
good.
Interesting. So, if we're gonna change things and take a portrait of me, I think we should do it in the Caribbean. How about that?
I agree on that. I got a house there. I got a car there. We can easily go and hang out.
Let's do it.
And get some pictures.
I need to travel. I'm itching to travel. You know how much we both love to travel, and obviously
both been stuck in a room,
been stuck for the last 3 months. So. Caribbean would be lovely right now, I'm sure, but we'll get to there.
Definitely. One day I'll do a big photographer meetup group back home.
Oh, did you hear that, folks? Photo meetup in the Caribbean.
There you go.
What could possibly go wrong? I like the sound of it. You heard it here first on SmugMug Live. Richard's going to pay for all of us to go to the park. I don't think that's what he said.
We'll see about that.
I don't think that's what he said. So, obviously we've started talking about the place we find ourselves. We're in the throes of a pandemic, and we're certainly kind of stuck in the places that we are. So it's maybe a good time to start talking about one of the subjects I wanted to talk about today. Is that although many of us in the photo industry have had to curtail all the projects and the work and the plans that we had, including yourself, all your plans got changed, you've still been able to keep active and keep working, right? You've had some commissions recently, right?
Yeah. And what it is, I think, what I found out this time, because I was there for the first, in my lifetime, first economic crisis back in 2010, I guess, 2011, when the housing market and the banking all kind of went collapsing. That's around the time when I started photography full time. So it didn't affect photography as Corona affected photography right now, because right now we weren't even able to see people in front of us, right? And in the other crisis there was, but it did affect in the same way that clients didn't have money to pay for projects. There wasn't any budgets to do anything. Everybody was a little bit afraid. They were waiting. They didn't know what to do, right? So in that regard, that's the same thing that's been happening right now. And what I've learned back then, or at least what I've invested a lot of time back then, is my local network. Being a photographer means I am in the creative industry, which also means I'm kind of in the art creative industry. And art is very broad. You can go to painters, sculptors. I mean, there's all different kinds of arts. And instead of only focusing on the photography creative community, I focused and invested a lot in the art creative community around me as well. So I've paid a lot of attention on who are the investors investing in the art creators, who pays for my local art. If you go to a school and you see like an artwork in the school, or in Holland you have like a lot of artworks in the streets, like who pays for this? Why is there artwork here? Why is there a sculptor? Who paid for this sculpture to be here, right? So I've invested a lot of time in figuring out where does the money go to and how does it move. And I found out a lot comes from the government. The government has a lot of funding, especially in the Netherlands, has a lot of funding for artists to do creative work or to learn something new or to give something back to the community. As long as it gives something back to the community, the local community, they are willing to fund your project. So what I figured out was then what I need to do was figure out what I already wanted to do is give back to the community. I love giving back to the community. That's why I do tutorials as well. That's why I do videos.
Yep.
I love giving back to the people. So it was easy for me to start figuring out projects that I could do for my city council to help that they would fund. And in investing in that network, in finding who does the art scene, who pays for the art scene, who's around, you just build like a network of people around you that do all types of different stuff. So I found some people who have a blog, who kind of represent the minority in our city. So on their blog, they publish stories for the people to identify with. So the minorities in our city, they get to tell their story, who they are, what they do in life. Some are very inspiring, some do very amazing things, and their blog is solely built to showcase that. And they get funding for that.
Yep.
So the same thing with different projects. And I've been, instead of only focusing on photography or the photography community or the photography people, I've been focusing a lot around that part as well. And now, during this economical crisis, I've noticed that it's that network that is now coming together and helping each other, because we couldn't leave our city, right? We were stuck in our houses. We were pretty much stuck in our city. So the money all is now coming from the city I live in. It's all coming within 3, 4, 5 blocks from where I am, right? And that's where the things need to happen. So in the first week of Corona, everything went silent. Everybody was like, okay, let's see what happens. And then I think in around the second week, I started getting a call from a big blog, and the blog that does the storytelling. And they said, yeah, Richard, I've helped them in the past with something small. And they said, oh, you helped us in the past. And so we wanted to contact you right away we have this project. The city council invested some money in us, and we wanted to see how the people within our community are adjusting to the new Corona rules, right?
Yep.
So we have a pastor who normally preaches in church, but now he preaches just from his backyard. So we want a picture of that and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they called me and pretty much sent me on my way every day, gave me a list of names and said like, yep, off you go and go photograph them.
Well,
of course, keeping in mind all the Corona rules.
sure.
I wasn't allowed to go inside, and this made it very hard. But it's also made me one of the first people who would have to adjust to the new rules. The no handshaking. I mean, the first time I was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm at your door. Hi, Rich," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, wait, no, we can't do that." So I got to step back. So it was really hard in the first to adjust, but after a while you kind of get creative with it. So I did a lot of photographing through the backyard window, through the living room window. And with a lot of reflections. So I got to play with reflections. I used a lot of my hoodies. I mean, we can show you guys a few pictures in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to them. So just, it's interesting because for many years, we've all been trying to widen our networks, become global players. I hate that term, but, you know, trying to find all these revenue streams that allows us to travel, you know, to great places in the world, but actually keeping those close local networks is more critical now than ever because we can only stay locally, right?
Exactly. And then that's why I just want to emphasize how important it is to. I was the same way, right? Me starting out as photography, I was looking globally. I mean, I was talking to Benjamin van Wong, Renee Robin. That's when I was still shooting flowers. So our main objective was, how do I get Ben in here, and how does Ben get me in Canada? How can we start flying? And it's only after 2-3 years, when we were already flying, we were already visiting each other and doing workshops in other worlds, I started thinking, but wait, I live in my own city. I don't even know what's happening over here, right? And then it's when I flipped it and I started looking locally and noticing that it's way more important to invest locally. Because, again, you see these people every day. I mean, you meet them, you see them in the supermarket. They know who you are. So as soon as something happens, they will come and help, especially, again, if you help first. And that's kind of how I've been living my life, I guess. As soon as I meet people, I listen to their story. I try to figure out where I can help, how I can help them get to where they need to be. And in trying to be that, trying to help, I've always gotten the same help in return when something happens or something is needed.
Yeah. We're already getting some questions, and I would highly encourage anyone who has any questions for Richard today to post them in the chat, and I will feed them to him as appropriate. Dewey asks, do you do a lot of research into the cultures or subjects ahead of your projects, with projects like the blog, for example, before you start, or do you just go in there with a blank canvas and learn as you go?
When I first started out, I am all about the preparation. I am about knowing the subject, knowing what you're shooting about the subject, knowing even the music the subject likes. So when they walk into my studio, I have the music on. I am very about learning, knowing who this person is. And then I would say over the years, as it became more second nature, you start feeling through the emails, or already through the emails and through the talking, you start knowing the person a little bit. I started relying more on intuition by just going in blank, and right then and there, I know I will be asking the right questions to figure out who this person is and be able to get the right images. So both work. When I started out, it was all about the planning. And secondly, now that I've done that, I think for 10, 15 years, all the planning and everything, it's more about intuition. It's more about just going and then listening and talking to the person and then adjusting accordingly.
Yeah. I think when you first start out, you want to be as prepared as possible, know your subject really well, so you can then focus on the craft. You know, you're thinking about your camera and you're thinking about techniques, but as you get experience and as you become, you know, an expert in the craft, that allows you then to almost switch and forget a little bit about the craft and start to spend more time and be less prepared and work with the people. And I've certainly seen you work with a lot of people and take photographs, and he is, as you can tell, he has a personality that everybody just loves and wants to work with anyway, so you have a huge advantage there. So
it was funny that today somebody asked me if I ever had a very boring client that made me would want to run away, and I said, I don't. I had to really think about it. I don't ever remember having a boring client. But then the girl said, "But yeah, that's because you turn your clients into yourself. Every time they get your energy, and then they're all like bouncing around, and I get like boring clients." I'm like, yeah, okay, that might be a point as well.
It's impossible to be boring when Richard is around. That's for sure. I can
There
testify.
you go.
So why don't we have a look at some of the images you've created for this specific project? That would be pretty
Sure.
cool. Let the audience see those images. So we'll just get you to share screen. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we can see your screen. Awesome.
Yeah. So this is this is Mo Hersey. He's a comedian. He was one of the first I needed to photograph. So with him, it was the first time figuring out how to work with reflections. I've never worked with reflections. I fought reflections a lot. I've used polarizing filters. I've used whatever to fight reflections, but I've never left them intentionally and tried to use them. So Mo is a comedian, and his story was he was standing on stage. He was doing every night shows every night, multiple shows per night. And now that Corona hit, he just sits at home and he looks outside and he's waiting for it to blow over again. Mm-hmm. So he's also all dressed up. So he's got his jacket on, he's got his hat on, but he can't really go anywhere. So I just put him in front of the window, didn't block out any sun. It was the first. I did not know how to get his face clean. It got clean enough, but I was still learning. Mm-hmm. Then I started learning working with shadows. This is Suze. She's a photographer as well. And besides the photography, she is also, how you call it? I think she is Miss Latex 2019. Mm-hmm. And that's also the category of photography she is in. Right. She's very into the gay scene, the BDSM scene, latex and corsets. Mm-hmm. But besides that, she is also a mom for a lot of people in the scene. Right. So a lot of people who now don't have any jobs, a lot of models who don't have any work have been calling her every day, and she's kind of been the mother, the listening ear, the helping out. So what you see here is Suze on her phone and me using my arm as a reflection. You're right. As the shadow to cast on her face to get the reflection back. So I'm standing outside, and
it's interesting. So she's actually created a support network then. For her, her smaller niche, if you like, her network. So though we're all stuck at home, there's still lots we can be doing, and she's probably busier than ever.
She is busy, and she's trying to help out as well with funding, trying to help out with projects, trying to get these people connected to other people to still get them work. So she's been very grateful for that community in general for us. It was very interesting to hear her story.
So this was just that last one. It was just your elbow. You said you'd used to create that.
Yeah. So
you can see it now.
Yeah. I'm holding it. My arm is in the air, and I'm holding my camera probably like this and creating the shadow. And this is where I slowly started learning that shadows block out reflections. I mean, I didn't know. I should have known probably, but I didn't. So that's when I started using it more. This is me holding my SmugMug shirt. You can see me in the back with my camera holding a SmugMug shirt in front to cast the shadow on her face.
They have many uses.
There you go. They have many, many uses. This was the pastor I was talking about. So he used to preach every Sunday in church and have full churches. And now he does podcasts sitting in his backyard like this. The podcast station is you can't see it, but it's right next to him with a microphone. He just says, I'm just sitting here in the sun all day preaching. I could get used to this. I was like, okay. He found a new way to.
Maybe he doesn't want to go back.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't look like he wanted to go back. He loved it that way. This man was interesting. This is Fred. He is I don't know if you know the air fryer.
No.
Never heard of it? An air fryer?
It's the kitchen, cooker.
The air fryer. Yeah, he's the inventor of the air fryer. Ah. And what Corona has, he has a big company with a lot of 3D printers. And the first thing he did was, he's an inventor, so he dropped the things they were working on, and he tried to figure out how he could cheaply make guards for nurses.
Yep.
These.
Yep. Shields. Yeah.
Yeah, shields.
Face shields.
So Yeah, so he switched his company to face shield makers. He put all his printing capacity into printing these, into making them for the medical hospitals and staff. And he would photograph he has like an angry face. But he wasn't that angry. It was very interesting. I got him to smile just a little bit. He looks a little bit friendlier here, but he's a very friendly, open guy, and very cool stories to tell as well. And this is what I'm starting to learn now, that photography only gets you to a certain point. It gets me the image,
Yep.
and I still need somebody to tell the story. Now I'm shooting these images for a blog, so of course there's an interview and there's a story, not taken by me. But as I go there and talk to the person, I get to know way more things about them. So I get to call back to HQ and go like, "Hey, I think you guys are missing this in the article because he's been talking about this, and this is way more interesting than the first story you were trying to run." So
That's an interesting concept. Yeah, just because the time you're spending there and
exactly, and nobody
your
could go out.
personality's pulling maybe some information that they haven't been able to get. Maybe they've done an interview over the phone or
Exactly.
something.
This has been it. It's been an interview over the phone, and that's what I've been hearing about. Everybody I've been talking to, they've been giving me way more. I mean, besides the fact, don't get me wrong, this was 1 month into quarantine. We were still in hard lockdown.
Yep.
So some of these people, when they would see me, they had 2 hours of content just coming out because they hadn't seen another person.
Another human, let's talk forever. Yeah, been guilty of that.
Exactly.
Richard, what do you think I'm doing right now? I've been doing it for 23 episodes, dude.
There you go. This is the guilty pleasure. Just get it all out for every day. Yeah, exactly. So this has been what I've been getting. So I've been meeting these people and they've been pumping it all out versus a 10-minute interview over the phone. So yeah, this is going to give me an interesting idea about also trying to get more text into my images, and that images aren't long. I do have stories. I do have things I usually add, things I get to find out about the people I photograph, but I don't have the real in-depth, 2-hour conversation right off. So I'm still trying to figure out how that is going to play out.
But great that you're able to steer the blog or the article, the writer, with some of that inside information. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice that they allow it as well. That they're open to it.
Yeah.
And this is the lady that started the project. She is from the city council, so she is the one that gave the okay to the funding to be able to do this project. And this is testament for her job within the city council is to make sure there is enough diversity in the media within our city.
Yep.
And she's been at this post for longer than 2 years. So it's not something new. It's something she's been fighting for and trying to change for a while. And this is why this project also brought us closer to people to be able to talk to them.
It's more relevant now than ever, right? For sure. So
yeah, for sure. Aaron, same story. Right now I'm holding a reflector. You can see my fingers poking out, holding the reflector. It's a closed reflector. It's just the black part to get the shadow, to get the face in. So this is how I pretty much kind of learned and played with reflections during the Corona time. I had a lot of friends saying they don't know what to do. They don't really trust the window contact or the door photographers or things like that. And I understand if you have to travel really far for it. I mean, I understand if you have to, go to another city or get into an airplane. I wouldn't risk that either. But this was all within my city and within bicycle reach or car reach within 5 to 10 minutes from my house, which made it a little bit more easier. So again, going back to local, because we're stuck local anyways, the step is a little I call it easier step to try it out and see if it works for you.
Yeah, I know it's something that within our community became quite a talking point early on in the pandemic, was the whole front porch shoots, photographing people from a distance, and it was kind of split down the middle. People were dead against it. People thought, why shouldn't we be able to try and keep busy? So I don't think we ever will win an argument either way. Fortunately, we've moved on now that we can all travel, and I think most of the concerns came down to the fact that it wasn't so much the interaction with the client on the doorstep. It was that travel in between jobs, having to stop somewhere for fuel or get something to eat or use facilities, whatever. So I can understand that it caused quite a bit of debate. And we had a lot of people within our company, a lot of customers that did that type of photography, and a lot of customers who were dead against it. So.
Yeah, and what I've heard as an argument a lot as well was we're used to showing our picture, right? And we're used to getting close to the person and showing the picture behind the camera and the back of the camera. And in the beginning, I had a lot of people saying around me or seeing a lot of comments saying, so you're not going to show the picture then? I mean, you are really going to stay away from the person then? And I thought it would be a really hard thing. And in the beginning, maybe the first time it was out of reflex, right? You kind of, oh, wait, no. But as soon as you correct yourself the first time, it wasn't really that hard to keep a safe distance. I mean, after the first shoot and not shaking hands, it was pretty easy the second time, the third time. And by the fourth time, it's so in your system, it's very easy to keep distance and keep a safe distance and keep a mask on or whatever and not go inside.
Hey, so, I'm old enough to remember that at the start of my career, you couldn't show the picture even if you wanted to, because it was on a roll of film.
There you go.
So just not necessarily bad. Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know it's an interesting topic. There's people certainly in like the wedding industry where I came from, dead against showing the clients anything during the day. But I used to love showing the clients. They give them the confidence that you're capturing great stuff, and give them the confidence that they look amazing, and just let them relax a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, that would be really different. I'm very fortunate for almost a decade now to have moved in a different direction, and I feel for the wedding industry. I feel for all photography industry, but the wedding industry has just been decimated like any other. And I don't mean to miss out any other photography genre, but that one's very close to my heart. So I know how difficult it is at the moment.
Yeah, wedding and events, indeed, there's like those two things. Wedding and events have been crazy, but I've seen a lot of friends who've also changed their business model and plans as well, right? A crisis or economic thing or a pandemic or whatever we have now is a good chance to also really think about your business and really think about how solid is your business for the future, right? Yeah. And being a specialist. I mean, we've always been advised, even me starting my photography, I've always been advised, be a specialist, right? Know your craft, be a specialist in that one thing. That will be, the thing that will get you the money, that will make you different from the rest. But the more you specialize in that one thing, that just means the more specific the client is that will come to you. So being more of a generalist, being more of somebody that's why I also changed the portrait and fashion into people photography. It's being more the generalist, being the one that can adjust to whatever happens. I can now do pregnancies. I won't say I've never done pregnancies, and pregnancy isn't my business model, but I know how to do it. I love doing it. I can build a concept around a pregnancy as much as I can build a concept around a fashion shoot or a portrait shoot. So being a generalist kind of has its perks versus being a very specific. But again, you do need to know who you are and what makes you unique and why the client should come to you. So that is an important thing. But also just having more views, more skills, more genres around you can work with gives you the freedom to move around, to adjust.
It's a conversation, again, that's happening a lot at the moment. We, as you say, many of us wanted to be specialists our whole career, hoping that it could mean our rates would be higher and the competition would be less. But I think I had this conversation with Ben Von Wong just last week, that the most successful thing at the moment is in any walk of life is to be a generalist, a GP of a general practitioner of anything, and have as many revenue streams as possible is not a bad idea. But you really need to know your craft. Being a general practitioner, I always thought weddings was a bit like being a GP. You know, you had to be everything on the day, from a portrait photographer to a landscape photographer to a
lifestyle architect,
to a counsellor, to the whole gambit. So if you're in the wedding industry just now, take solace that with that generalist approach, that skill set you have over many genres, that will stead you well for what's to come once we kind of get open back up again.
Definitely.
sure.
I've seen a lot of wedding photographers also do a lot of good product photography because they already had that creative skill of capturing the ring, the flowers,
The
and things like
details,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen them go into product photography and actually excelling in it in the past months as well. So yeah, it's actually what you said. Wedding photography is the most, I think, GP
Yeah.
photography, the general.
One of the biggest clients I had as a wedding photographer was actually a catering company
No.
who, at one particular wedding, I did some great detailed shots of their food, and I got invited to one of their big events. They call it showcase event, where they show off their kind of new menus for the year to come to some of the biggest venues that they work in,
Yeah.
and I became their photographer of choice through shooting a wedding that they had to be at. So
That's freaking awesome. And that's exactly what I mean, right? People should, broaden your view, right? And don't be like, no, I'm a wedding photographer and weddings have been canceled, so I'm going to sit on the couch until everything starts up again. Just trying to figure out what else can be done and can do. And yeah.
Best part of that job of photographing catering, eating eating the stuff after the shoot.
I've done a few food photography as well, and the best thing is eating.
I did one that very early in my career. I did a product shoot for a company who was making boxes that had handmade chocolates in them.
Oh.
And we had this huge delivery of handmade chocolates because once you had touched them and photographed them once, you had kind of damaged them. Yeah. So they sent this huge delivery of handmade chocolates for what was about 20 images. That was fun afterwards for sure.
20 images, jeez.
Really enjoyed it. Job. It's like, oops, damaged that one.
Oh, next. Sorry. Yeah. That's awesome.
That was good. Maybe, sorry, actually, let's look at the questions. Let's see what questions we've got here. Comment here from Dewey, who I think you might be familiar with. She says, Sus is an amazing creature. So commenting on one of your subjects there. Gary Monroe, Gary's posted earlier that he's joining us from Canada today. Thanks, Gary. He says, how much posing do you do with your subject? So you've got them behind glass and you're not able to maybe pose them as physically as you maybe have done in the past. So how did that go down?
Yeah. Posing a lot of models as well, and especially girl models. I'm never really allowed to touch my models anyway.
Of course, yeah.
So I've been I call it trained into mimicking what I do and what I want them to do. I had an older. I think if I share I can show. Let's see, share screen. If I go here, I had an older woman. Her.
Yep.
Who couldn't hear me, and she had a hard time following me as well. So what we wound up doing is I wound up calling her on the phone, and I would just talk to her. And while we were sitting like pretty close, there's glass in front of us, and it's very thick glass. But while talking to her, I would like try to mimic and direct. And as soon as I said, so now you're looking good, you're smiling, just bring your arms down so I don't see the phone, laugh, smile, click. So it's pretty much a variety of mimicking or again using the phone and calling, or some people just move naturally, right? The guy I had before her, Erwin, let's see, do this again, like this and like this. Let me go to Aaron. Aaron, he's a videographer. I know him.
Right.
We've worked on a few projects together, and he came on the list. I mean, I don't know who they put on the list. I just get the names. I'm like, oh, I know him. He's cool. Okay. So I sent Aaron a message like, oh, I'm coming around. And Aaron was just sitting at his kitchen window like this, enjoying the sun. And just in him sitting relaxed over there, I thought like, yeah, this is perfect. Just sit right there, don't move. Just look into the camera. I clicked and then I biked off again. So this was like a 10 second. So for some people, they're already like in a pose, already sitting relaxed. Something like this is perfect. Others I have to direct by mimicking. Others I talk on the phone, and I kind of try to steer them into the. But it all comes down to, I guess, making them comfortable, making them comfortable with you. It's the same as any portrait photography, right? Exactly. There's glass in front of us, but the first thing that happens is you ring the door, you take 2 steps back, the door opens, and there's somebody there. And it's that I mean, that moment there that can last about 30 minutes to 45 minutes of talking and listening and laughing before I say, okay, can you go back in? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go around and let's take the pictures, right? So it's getting your subject relaxed, and that's what gets my model into their pose when I shoot them. We've already got that vibe. They're already in that crazy rigid energy apparently.
Yeah,
and I get them to do.
As I say, having seen you work, it is, you know, your style is very physical. You know, your physics, as you say, mimicking your community. You're telling, you know, turn this way, turn that way. But although it's see through, that glass just brings a whole new dimension to that level of communication. So now that you've mastered that, you know, there's nothing can stop you. Next, you'll be doing it behind brick walls or something.
I'm very curious to see how this is, because again, in the past couple of months, again, I've been dreaming about reflections as well. I mean, whoever thinks about reflections, you think of other things, right? So I've been actually thinking about reflections and what else I can do with them and playing around with them. So yeah, maybe this will all end up in like a big fashion reflection shoot with everything on there.
Well, the next time we see you at some trade show convention, you'll be like, why is Richard bringing a big sheet of glass onto the stage floor? That'll be the new thing. How many more of these portraits have you still to do?
I don't have there's no beginning or end.
Just an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and they said the same thing as well. They said like, I guess for as long as this lasts and for long as the budget goes, we can keep doing this, right? So we're doing it till the.
That's the famous line. How long can we go until the money runs out, right?
Until the money runs out. Yeah, there you go. And in doing this as well, I've been having more people locally contacting me as well for other local projects, right? So that this is the whole I call it chain effect, chain reaction of doing something locally, getting the images out, and then having more people locally contact you and going like, "Hey, I love the reflection thing you did. We're working on this. Could you think about this as well?" Yeah.
So when you've got these images, you've got a bit of a story. So these individual blog articles on each person, or is it one big master? Yeah. It's individuals.
It's individual blogs. Yeah, exactly. It's individual blogs. They do a little vlog as well. So they tell a little story about them personally, what they're doing. There's an interview, and then there's my images accompanying that. And there's another thing I forgot to mention, but I think it's important, and it isn't always necessary, but it might be something to think about. Whenever a project reaches you, in whatever form, or an idea reaches you and somehow you can work on that project, or you're talking at least about it, I try to elevate or add as much as I can to the project to make it more interesting, to make it have more reach, to whatever. So when the project came to me, I said like, okay, so you're going to have these people, they're going to vlog about themselves, and you're going to have the text. When somebody vlogs about themselves, it can be a very different quality. I mean, every phone is different, every device is different, so you never know what kind of quality will come in. And what we've noticed is that a lot of bad quality started coming in, and not bad quality as in the content, but they just had old phone cameras that were pixelated and things like that. So what we would do is that we would use the image to kind of start off the vlog. So you would hear the sound coming out already, the voices, the talking, and the image would be the picture that was sharp, and we would scroll through some pictures, and then we would start the video. And this created like a way higher quality feel to the project, which made, again, the client, or the city council go like, oh, we want more of this. We love the quality that you guys have been producing. Could you go more? So in kind of helping the quality and the project go a little bit higher, get a little bit more funding, you can get more work out of everything as well. So I have this with every project that comes to me, or every idea I hear. Even if I don't get to do it, I still love to help add, to try and make it a little better, trying to get it to a little bit more reach, anything like that. So same for you guys, if you're working on projects, try and thinking about what you can add to give them a little bit an edge, something more that they didn't have before.
For sure. It's a great advice. I'll get the link to these articles from you once we're done, and I'll post that in the description of the show. You may have to translate it for me, but
I will do. It's fine.
I'm assuming they're all in Dutch, but I would certainly love to share that project and get it some exposure here on the channel. So I will add that in the show notes once we're finished. Thank you. Maybe we can switch quickly. We've got about 10-15 minutes left. So I'll before we jump to the next thing, keep the questions coming. As I say, we've got about 10 minutes left. Give us a thumbs up. We'd love you to give us a thumbs up if you've been enjoying this. It really helps support us here on the channel. So yeah, do that, and don't forget to subscribe. But what I would like to do, Richard, if we can, is maybe have a little switch to just your regular portfolio, and just finish off with looking at the type of work you would typically be photographing. Your work is always inspiring to me. It's always amazing. So I would love to showcase some of it today. So
sure.
if you want to pull up your website.
Yeah. Start sharing. There we go. So, can you see it?
Yep.
So this is one thing I've been talking about lately with a couple of friends of mine, and the reason I've been convincing them to go over to SmugMug as well is I change my images and my homepage a lot, and I change it based off of let's call it community feeling.
Mm-hmm.
What where the state of mind the world kind of is in. So what I have is during winter, I would have these images up. So during winter, when everything is gray, depressing, everybody's a little bit sad, I can feel Facebook kind of complaining, and it's kind of dull. I put up these images. They're very yellow, they're very orange, they're very bright. They kind of already open the endorphins in your brain, so they kind of already make you a little bit happy. Right. So when a client comes to my website, I'm already kickstarting that part of their brain by just having the bright color on the monitor. And because SmugMug is so easy to adjust the homepage and change around the pictures and change everything around, during the winter, during the summer, I usually, and I haven't switched it yet, I usually switch over to more classical images. So during summer, I usually go more to people feel a little bit more classy. They feel a little bit more summer body. They feel a little bit more, nicer. So I usually show a little bit more classier images. And I've been playing around with this a lot. So I adjust between color, classy, and different types of portfolios. And I've been noticing that it actually works when you play around with it as well.
Yeah. It's definitely nice to see these colors. I think you know this, but we have a nickname for Richard here at the SmugMug office. We call him Mr. Motivator. It's really down to if you're not familiar, Richard does a Monday morning motivational speech on his social channels to get us all pumped for the week ahead. But that just is a small part of the motivation and the inspiration you give to everyone in this community, in this industry, and hence the nickname Mr. Motivator. So you even take that to the level of designing your homepage to inspire people, motivate people at certain seasons of the year. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, try to make people feel good about themselves by just going to a website and having a certain color or anything to them. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's cool.
Same with color coding, right? So if you scroll through my website, I go from orange flows into red flows into red dresses, from red it flows into purple, flows into blue. So I actually I color code, sort my images.
Color coding, color coding's become another theme that people are talking about when it comes to everybody live streaming and having bookshelves behind them.
Oh, really?
And some people, we've noticed that some people color code their book collection based by the color of the spine. And again, there's two sides to that argument. Like some people love it, some people hate it.
I would get lost if I color coded my book.
Looks great, but
yeah, definitely looks very pretty.
These are beautiful.
So the color that is what I've been telling, right? So the color comes from where I was born and raised, right? Curacao is a very saturated, I don't know if you can. This is Curacao. Can you see it?
Yep.
So this is Curacao, and it's very the yellow color probably comes from the same place as well. We have a lot of yellow buildings, a lot of blue. This was taken last year, May, I think exactly a year ago. We were there for a fashion shoot. But I think so. If you see these bright ass colors, it's very saturated. It's close to the how you call it, it's in the tropics, right? So the
Yeah.
12 o'clock sunlight in the tropics is way different than in European 12 o'clock sunlight. So this is where the color in my work actually came from, and this is where it kind of went into the studio as well. When I was in the studio, I had like the gray backdrops and the black backdrops, and I didn't feel it was complete. I didn't feel that was me. So in the studio, I started building sets. I started adding color. I started throwing anything to make it look less gray, white, or black.
Could you come over to Scotland and like make
make it less gray?
Make Scotland less grey?
I could try.
That's not fair. It's actually beautiful at the moment, but
I bet
our winters are kind of highly needing some richer color about them. That's
I mean, the Dutch weather is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And this is Curacao, 12 o'clock, zero processing, raw, straight out of camera. I mean, it's soft, it's hard. I cannot explain this quality of light, and I haven't seen it anywhere else in the world either, except back home.
So I remember seeing this project when you were back in Crusoe. Was this a personal project or was this for?
It's a fashion brand. So but it's a personal. It's instigated by me. Right. So I was going to Curacao and I told this fashion brand, like, I'm going. If you guys have any campaign coming up, any images that you guys want shot over there, just give it to me. I have a stylist coming from me, so we can get an extra suitcase and we can bring it with us. And the company and the stylist, Chardonnay, we went together and we've done the fashion shoot over there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful images. Beautiful. Got some questions coming in, actually.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe we'll pop back to the split screen at the moment. Let's see. Dewey asks, what's your favourite project you have ever done and why so?
Favorite project? There's so many. I mean, like I said, my only criteria is I only work with people I like. So everybody I work with,
so there's no bad ones,
has passed the test. But there is a very interesting one. I don't know if I have it on here. Wait, I'm gonna let me track the project very fast. It was a theater. Mm-hmm. So this guy contacts me and he says, Richard, I have a theater. He sends me an email. He's been in my Facebook for like at least, 5, 7, 8 years. I have no idea who this guy was. He didn't have any profile pictures. So I thought he was like some stalker creep. So he sends me a message. He says, Richard, I have a theater. Come to Amsterdam. I want your images. I'm like, do I want to get killed? I don't know. I mean, okay, sure. So I went to Amsterdam, and sure enough, he had a whole theater, and it's a really big theater, and it was next to the Amsterdam Square. So big theater next to Amsterdam Square, everything. I go there and. I said, okay, he wanted some images of me, wanted to buy some images. And I said, instead of buying anything I have, forget anything I have, just lend me your theater and let me make some new work because this place is amazing. So he said, yeah, sure, come around. So I was all excited. I went there. Let me share the screen.
Yeah, what a great opportunity to...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To get access to somewhere.
Right. So... this is one of the images. So
we're not getting your screen yet. Hang on.
No.
Let's see. Wonder why that is. There we go. That's it. We got it now. Yep.
There we go. So there I was. The guy said, "Okay, I will give you this budget to play with, to get your models, to get everything. So instead of buying work, I will give you the budget to shoot new images." Mm-hmm. So he gave me a big budget. What I think was the most amount of budget I've ever had to make anything. So I got the best stylist, got the best models, and these were some of the images I got from it. So I shot this, and after the shoot, I wasn't happy. I didn't like it, and he had invested a lot of money.
Sure.
And these were his kids. So he has 3 sons. So I used his kids as well to show in the sheet. And I didn't really like what I did. And it was the first time I actually had to go back to a client and say, like, thanks for the opportunity, thanks for the money, thanks for everything. But I will have to ask you to do it again. Not give me the money again. I will do it for free. Don't get me wrong.
Just give me the
But I
venue.
would need access. Yeah, I would need access again. You will have to, staff up the whole place again and leave it empty and have, for me. And he was such a cool guy. He said, like, for sure. I mean, come whenever you want. And the second time I went, that's when I created these.
Right.
And this was when here I was happy. And the moral of the story, I guess, I don't know, is like, don't be afraid to reshoot something. Don't be afraid to go back and shoot something. This was the first project that so much money was involved, and I was so afraid to say I failed or feel that I failed. But still, it was for the better to like write off the first one and then do it again. So this is a more interesting story of a project that we did, and that was fun and interesting to do.
It's good to stand by your artistic credibilities, though, and be able to say, I'm not happy with that. And
yeah. And then, but again, I could see, but when I said it, when I say I'm not happy, I'm pretty sure the client is not going to be happy either. So I was sure that when I brought him the images, I already knew it. I didn't say anything. I just like, hey, look, this is what I made, and he was like, yeah. Yeah, and I was like,
you could get the vibe.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm sorry. I gotta do it again.
Yeah. Here they are, but.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But now he's a very cool friend of mine as well. And we've been working together for 10 years. I've organized photography festivals in his theater. We've done so many cool projects now. So yeah, that's testament to don't be afraid when you've made a mistake and just go back.
Yeah. Along that similar line, Gary asks, does Richard have a dream personal project he has yet to accomplish?
Just
the one?
I mean,
sure
which one do you pick? The thing is, I think in the last, what I said as well, in the last year and a couple of 2 years, I've been searching, I've been looking, trying to figure out who I am and what I do and why I do what I do. So there hasn't been anything that I want to do, because everything I've wanted to do, I've done. Everything I've figured out, like I want to try this, I've done it. I want to try this, I've done it. So there's nothing that is on the top of the list at the moment, besides trying to figure out more where I'm from, where my culture is from. And I've been diving more into documentary work as well, like I just said with the stories as well. So trying to get more of the textual stories accompanied with the images, or having somebody that does textual stories with the images. I don't know yet how this is coming into play, but that's kind of now what I'm looking into and trying to figure out how to get the stories combined with the images. That's not just a blog post or a news article or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, got some last minute questions coming in. I'm actually going to go back to one that I'd left for this one. Michael asked earlier, with social distancing now a thing, does Richard plan on using longer lenses during the pandemic, or trying to find ways to stay socially distant, such as tethering or triggers or wide angle lenses?
Yeah. There is one weird thing I've tried. That's because I shoot with Olympus a lot. My Olympus has the ability to connect through Wi-Fi. I have multiple Olympus cameras, so not only one. I've cleaned one, put it into a plastic bag, except the lens part that was out. I've put it on a tripod, put my tripods in plastic bags, and I've put the tripod in front of the door, and I said, take this with you inside. So they take the tripod, they go with it inside, and while on the phone, I can look through the viewfinder of the camera. I can tell them to put the camera over there, move it slightly, adjust, and then on the phone tell them, okay, you go sit on the couch by the window, you go sit over there, and then I trigger the camera with my phone, and then they put it back outside, I take it. So I have done that. Longer lenses, no, never. 50 millimeters, and that's the longest I'm going.
Yeah, he's a wide angle guy, Richard. A couple of comments. Yuri said the piano guy is so awesome. Going back to the one in the theater. Yep. And then Michael, let's see. Michael asks again, over how many days was the project shot? I'm not sure which project he's referring to, but I'm assuming it's probably the
pretty much. I mean, every project I do is pretty much if it's a fashion project, it's a 1 day project usually. So I try to shoot and get everything into one day. Even if it's a 24-hour day, I just try to get everything in one day. And for the pandemic shoot for a series, again, it depends on this depends on how long the funding will keep going. That's how long we're going to keep doing it, and the amount of time I spend with the person as well. That's depending. I mean, it can be up to from 5 minutes all up to an hour. The ones that are 5 minutes are usually friends that I know, like the videographer. I just bike up. It's like, hey, Aaron, what's up? Just sit. You're sitting right. Click, and then I bike back home. That was it. And then you have the other people that didn't really have communication during the pandemic. So as soon as I ring the doorbell, they're like, oh my God, here's my life story. Here's everything I missed out. And that's usually when I stand for like another half an hour, talk to them, and then we take the images. But it's I've been doing this starting, I think we started the 21st of March or 25th of March, around there. And we've been doing it ever since. I've just done one yesterday as well. So, yeah.
And how long did you have in the theatre project? How long did you have access to the theatre for on both occasions?
In the theatre project, I had a full day on both occasions.
Yeah.
We started in the morning, I think at 10 o'clock, and we ended at 6 p.m., 6 or 7 p.m. The second one went faster, though, because I knew what I needed and what I wanted. The first time it was I think I was nervous. Everything was nervous. Everything was, I don't know what it was. It was a little flux in the vortex. But the second time I moved a little faster and everything went a little faster. About half a day to a day is around what it costs. I mean, I work very closely with my team and with my people as well. So I don't really have to adjust or steer them. Everybody I work with usually has the same speed that I have. So yeah, we're pretty quick in and out when we have to do something very fast.
Cool. Right, I'm going to ask one last question. Oh, this one is a good one.
Oh no.
No, only because I know the images. We weren't actually going to talk about these, but this question relates to some of my favorite images you've ever taken.
Okay, so are we going to go there?
This question is from Claudio, and they ask, please tell us more about the self-portraits in your webpage. They are amazing. So these are your birthday. These got to be your birthday images, or
let me screen share this. Yeah. Let's screen share these selfies. No.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So the selfie project started for me as a learning photographer to learn something new. So every time I would take a selfie, it was a way for me to figure out how something worked.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to capture raindrops on my sensor. It was raining really, really, really hard, but there was no raindrops on my sensor. So I was like, what the hell? So I had to call my girlfriend, who was standing across from me with like a hose, spray painting me with water. But what you don't see is that the water coming out of the hose is a whole lot of degrees colder than the outside water falling on me. So I'm freezing my ass off over there, and she's laughing while she's spray painting me with the water. On to my annoying birthday. Oh, these are so screamy.
Yeah.
There we go. I hate my birthday. I don't know why. I've always hated my birthday. And for my first birthday selfie, the reason why I started building selfies as well is because of Flickr. I was uploading my images to Flickr every day. I was shooting a lot of flower, a lot of nature. I was talking to a lot of people, communicating. And one day, after 3 years of uploading every day, I didn't. And people started messaging me from, what's wrong? Why aren't you here? Are you okay? And I thought like, oh, people actually care and they want to know what's up with me. So that's when I also started creating selfies to update people what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And for my birthday, the same thing, right? So my first Flickr birthday post was me holding up a few fingers and making a 27. Hated that image. And I thought, okay, next year when I turn 28, I'm going to make something really more interesting. So at 28, I made this one. At 29, I made this one. A slow drag to 30. 30. I need to teach myself how to shoot something white on white on white on white. So wearing a white shirt, having a white tablecloth, having a white backdrop, and still seeing the corner of the table, the backdrop, and my shirt, and the plate. So every selfie is teaching me something, teaching me top view angle, teaching me side view angle, teaching me lighting, how to light something if you're looking at a top angle, looking down. 33. 34. 30. Oh, I'm missing 35. Oh. I haven't put it on my website yet.
I haven't put it on. So they just get darker and darker. But the reason the the birthday selfies are so dark is really just because you hate getting older. Is that you hate birthdays, right?
Pretty much. And I gave it a title, Happy Bloody Birthday. So
Yeah,
the bloodiness kind of
just
stayed
stuck.
into the happy, yeah,
Yeah.
into the Happy Bloody Birthday.
But the foundation of all the selfies is just to learn, right? It's just a learning
Yeah,
technique.
it's all just a learning experience. It's the white on white on white. It's the disappearing of the camera. It's the newspapers in the background. How does that look like? If I play with text in Photoshop, can I get it to look like it's actually been put on the paper and not photoshopped? Pretty much every selfie I make, even this one, is figuring out how to mix sunlight with candlelight, with normal light, and with flashlight, flash photography. So how to balance 3 to 4 different light sources into one image. And instead of it making it a boring image of me just standing there taking a selfie, I just try to fill in my screen as much as possible with random stuff to make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. So many of the guests we've had over the last few weeks are great ambassadors of both our brands, SmugMug and Flickr, and many of you used 365 projects to really learn the craft. It's a great place and a great way to do it. You know, when you're forcing yourself to take an image every day to learn your craft, to learn your skill, but to have people then reach out when you miss a day and have that community like check in on you and say, hey, is everything all right? Are you needing motivated? Although that would typically probably be you that would be checking in and motivating people. But
The thing is, I mean, that's when I learned that's when I how you call it? That's when I met Benjamin von Wong,
yep.
right? So it's a double double motivation right there. Me screaming, him screaming. We both going, yes, let's go.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to end this this conversation today is to have a little glance through that selfie project, which wasn't on our agenda to talk about.
No.
But Claudio, thank you so much for bringing that question. It was really great. Richard, thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to see more of your work?
Yeah, well, I'm on www.richardterborg.com. That's Terborg.com with Richard in front of it. And there you can find my Instagram, Facebook, and everything else will be linked from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Listen, I really appreciate you joining me today. We've had many conversations over the years, but it's nice to have one on the live stream. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hopefully next one we can do in person somewhere. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the project. We will definitely link out to that project in the show notes, so don't forget to send me that link over so people can see the project. And I hope the rest of that project goes well and does a real benefit for that organization that's trying to expose these minorities as you mentioned. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for your time. Everyone, before you go and before we say our final goodbyes to Richard, again just want to ask one favor: hit that little subscribe button, hit the little bell notification. That way you will give us a real help here in the channel. I'm laughing because people didn't see you do that, Richard, when I said hit the subscribe button. You can do it now. Go. When you hit the subscribe button. There you go. Hit the little bell. Awesome. I'm going to use that as my little logo. Have a little Richard here ringing a bell. That'd be pretty cool. Do that for next time. Yeah, give us a thumbs up as well, obviously, if you've enjoyed today's broadcast. Thank you so much, wherever you are in the world, for joining us today. Tune in again. Our next episode is on Thursday. I will be joined all the way from Vancouver by Flickr Pro Gavin Hardcastle, better known as Photo Tripper. He's an amazing landscape photography, and we're going to be talking about composition, his favourite subject when it comes to landscape photography. So join us on Thursday for that. And yeah, I've got episodes several times a week for the foreseeable future. So thank you again, Richard. Look after yourself.
Thank you. You as well.
Yep.
And you all, everybody, thanks for being there. Thanks for watching.
Yep. And we'll see you all on the next episode of SmugMug Live. Thank you so much. Bye.